The other option here is if I were to just call it angle A. Since there's no other angles drawn, I can just label it based on the vertex, based on that starting point, so angle A. Okay, that would also be acceptable. Now, here's the thing. If I were to add a little bit to this picture, all of a sudden that becomes unacceptable. Watch this. If I were to draw this guy right here, if I were to draw another one, and let's call it D. That's a terrible looking D. I can do better than that. Okay, so if I called that D, now angle A would not be an acceptable name anymore because there's a bunch of angles that start at A. There's this small angle that we started with that I have a 1 drawn inside. Maybe I could draw a 2 here. All right, so there's another angle. But then the whole angle that goes from D to A to C, the big angle. All right, so by saying A, well, which one of those angles are you talking about? And so all of a sudden, that's not an acceptable label. Okay, so as long as it is specific enough, we can use that. So if I get rid of all this extra stuff, now when I say angle A, well, there's only one angle there. That's clear enough. That's enough clarity. That's enough of a description to make sure I understand which angle I'm talking about, okay? So again, it's about how specific we have to be in order to make sure what we're trying to label is clear, okay? The other option, and this is my favorite one, me personally, is just slapping a number in there. When I slap a number in there, all of a sudden this is angle 1. I just call it angle 1 and that's it, okay? And in the other example, if I were to redraw that stuff that I had, well, that's still accurate enough. Angle 1 is still showing me that. And then I could label this guy and just say, oh, that's angle 2. Okay, so that's my preferred way. But the problem is, in like, if I look at these values I just added, the only way to label the big angle, I can't use numbers for that one. I would have to use DAC for the big angle on the outside. So sometimes we can't always use the numbers, okay? But when we can, that's my preferred method, okay? For example, if I look at something like this guy, it says give 2 other names for angle 1. So again, if I'm talking about angle 1, the only other way to label this, because I can't use just M, is to use the 3 values. So think about the order in which you have to connect those. Connect the dots to form the angle. And so one of those would be angle. I could start at J, draw to M, and then draw to K. That would give me angle 1. Or I could start at angle at K, draw to M, and draw to J. All right. I couldn't do something like JKM because think about connecting those dots. JKM, that's not the angle that I'm talking about, okay? So again, when you label those using the 3 points, connect the dots, it should form the angle, okay? And then here, why can't I use the label M? Why can't I just call it angle M? Well, look at it. If I said angle M, which angle am I talking about? Am I talking about angle 1? Am I talking about angle 2? Am I talking about angle JML? All right, it's not clear enough. It's not specific enough. And so when we look at this, saying angle M, well, there's more than one angle at M. Or more, there are. Let me try again. So I'm just going to say, hey, there's a bunch of different angles at M. So the question now becomes, well, which one? Which one? And if I have to ask that question, if I need extra clarification, if you say angle M, I say, well, which angle M? Well, that means that angle M is not clear enough, okay? It has to be more specific than that, okay?